Now, it's been a while since we featured a Mitsubishi Xpander here in AutoIndustriya.com, so we thought it'd be a good time to try it out again. One good reason for that is because we haven't tried out this variant. This is the GLX, the entry-level automatic version of the popular MPV slash crossover. So we're trying to hit two birds with one stone here. One, is the GLX good value? And two, is the Mitsubishi Xpander still as good as it was when it was launched nearly 2 years ago? As I mentioned, it's been nearly 2 years since Mitsubishi first launched the Xpander here in the Philippines. It was March of 2018 to be exact. And when it first came out, there were a wide variety of comments about its styling. Yeah, it's pretty space age, isn't it? But with thousands of them on the road now, you could say that people have gotten used to it. And, well, I do have to laud Mitsubishi for that. That you won't mistake it for anything else on the road by making it look very distinct. Now, as a reminder, these are the headlights and these are the daytime running lights. But of course, you probably know that by now because, again, it's been nearly 2 years since they launched it. And because of the short hood, the rest of the car's body is strictly devoted to passenger space. And that space age theme continues on the windows and the sides and when you get to the back. Well, whether it wins styling contests or not, the Mitsubishi Xpander, well, you won't lose it in the car park. Again, this is the GLX variant, GLX Plus to be specific. And at first glance, you might mistake it for the GLS, the model above this one. Although what Mitsubishi did was to take out a lot of its chrome. Sure, you still have that chrome strip around its DRL surrounding the grille, but if you'll notice, the grille is black. And so the door handles, they're body colored, and well, basically they just stripped away a lot of the chrome. This GLX Plus even rides on the same wheels as the GLS. So really at first glance you think, yeah, that's a higher spec model, but just take a look at the grille and that is your biggest clue. Now, we've tried out the GLS before, so you'd expect this entry-level GLX to be much more bare inside, and actually that's not the case at all. They actually kept a lot of things in here. And something I noticed about Mitsubishi's lately is their ability to make hard plastic feel premium. Like when I touch it, I think I'm touching something soft touch, but when I knock it, it's actually hard plastic. So you're given this impression just by looking and touching it that you're in something much more expensive. Just don't knock on the dashboard or any of the other interior panels in here. The thing I like about the Xpander, there's a lot of storage spaces. There's one just above the glove box, and there's even a box under this passenger seat. Cruise control is also standard in this entry-level model, and I say that's pretty neat, especially if you go on highway jaunts most of the time. One thing I do wish they added was an armrest, or at least the roll cover for the center storage box. This one instead you get a lid, which is strangely detachable. Also, they got rid of the seat height adjuster, so I really wish they just put it in all of the variants rather than taking it out here in the GLX variant. Other features here in the GLX, you get a more basic multi-information display. You don't get the colored variety like you get in the GLS and the GLS Sport, but it is pretty comprehensive for what it is. You get average fuel economy, your distance to empty, and even your service reminder. I also appreciate the fact that the infotainment system you see here, or rather the touch audio you see here, is the same as the higher spec variants, which goes to show that Mitsubishi didn't cheap out in this entry-level model. It's at the back where the Xpander shines with buckets of head, leg, and even shoulder room. There's also a blower at the back, as it should in this class of vehicle. The armrest, on the other hand, needs a pull-out tab to use. But what I like most about the rear accommodations is that there are 3 storage pockets behind the driver's seat, perfect for keeping the cabin as clutter-free as possible. Something I always liked about the Xpander is its third row mechanism. Just watch. It's just one action. You don't have to fumble around with the seat bottoms and the backrest, unlike what you have to do in the Montero Sport. And it's making us hope that the next generation Montero Sport has something like this too. Now, to put the seat back down, simply pull this tab and let gravity do the rest of the work. There's also a handy storage compartment down here to keep valuables away from prying eyes. And the benefit of this arrangement is that you have a flat cargo area. Now, if there's a Mitsubishi from the past that reminds me of the Xpander, that would be the Space Wagon. Think about it. Space-age styling, relatively small footprint, and it seats 7. This is a modern-day Space Wagon. And if you don't remember what it looks like, or maybe it's the first time you've heard it, we'll bring up a picture now to remind you what it looks like. Now, I've had the Xpander for a couple of days now, and something really stood out for me, and that's the fuel consumption. Now, in very light traffic, this car can do almost 20 kilometers per liter. I was averaging about 50 to 60 kilometers per liter around the city, and that was really early in the morning, but that's an extreme case. So it did 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which roughly translates to 19.5, almost 20 kilometers per liter. Now, what makes that feat really impressive is the fact that this car only has a 4-speed automatic, and normally the lesser the gears, the less efficient it will be. But somehow Mitsubishi made it work for the Xpander, and I have to give them props for that. So it delivers good fuel economy. Well, not just good actually, it's excellent fuel economy. But what about performance? Well, what do you expect from a 1.5 liter engine with a little over 100 horsepower? Well, if your expectation is not much, well, you're pretty much bang on point here. See, the Xpander wasn't made for performance in the first place. I mean, just look at it. But even if it isn't the fastest thing in the world, it is one of the most practical choices you can get. Again, you get decent performance out of it. And highway passes, yeah, they require a bit of planning, but it's not totally underpowered in here. I mean, power could be best described as adequate. Won't set your hair on fire, but it's more than enough to move the car forwards and about. Now, when it comes to the subject of handling, the Xpander takes priority of light controls and ease of use over sharp dynamics and all that, feel and feedback. Now, of course, it's not going to be, well, very driver-oriented. It's actually the opposite of that. And again, this is a family car, so why would you expect something like this to handle like, say, an Evo or something like that? No. The Xpander's purpose is to make life as easy for you. So the steering is light with almost no feel and feedback. But that then makes it very easy to drive around the city, and it makes parking a whole lot easier too. What's really nice about the steering is, well, clearly it's not the feel and feedback, but its turning radius. The Xpander has one of the tightest turning radiuses I have ever experienced in just about any car, and that's actually no mean feat given the length of this car. And normally you'd expect something smaller to have good turning radius, but this is a very, very notable exception. That also means like going around tight spots and tight alleys, car parks, etc. Well, you're not going to be stressed out in the Xpander. So again, the main aim of the Xpander is not to deliver, well, sharp dynamics, but again, to make driving as stress-free as possible. Another thing I have to laud Mitsubishi for is its ride, and they got it just right. Now, it's no Cadillac or Mercedes-Benz, but the thing is, for a car in this segment, a crossover slash MPV, it's one of the most comfortable I've been in. I have to say it rides better than its competitors like the Toyota Rush and Honda BR-V. At the same time, the body doesn't move around so much because that's the typical, well, drawback of cars with soft suspension. The body tends to pitch and roll around even if the road is relatively smooth. Here in the Xpander, you don't really feel that. So body motions are relatively kept in check, although some may still find it a bit on the wallowy side. But I've got no complaints about the ride and the comfort inside the Xpander. But if I had to nitpick anything about the Xpander, and I will, that would be the sun visors. See, it's angled upwards and we're in a relatively shaded part right now, but you'll see the problem here. It's tilted upwards, and even if I try to straighten it out, I really don't get much sun blockage. Maybe I'm just not tall enough for the sun visors of the Xpander, or maybe Mitsubishi has to straighten that angle on the sun visor of the Xpander. But the fact that I had to nitpick about it means that the Xpander as a car, or as a whole, when you're driving it, is very competent, especially in this segment. However, there's one thing that shocked me about the Xpander. And that's the price. At 1,075,000 pesos, the GLX Plus is actually more expensive than its entry-level rivals, such as the BR-V and the Rush E. Now, on paper, it sounds expensive, 1,075,000 pesos for an entry-level MPV slash crossover. Well, you could look at it another way around. It's actually fairly well equipped. It rides well, and it's fantastic on fuel. Plus, not to mention, it's very, very light and easy to drive. So, value depends on how you look at it. And all in all, well, the Xpander is a competent car, regardless of the price.